Quick question, and be honest. If your age pension is being reduced right now, do you actually know which of Centrelink's 2 tests is doing the cutting? Not a guess, the actual one. Because here's the thing, almost no part pensioner realises. Centrelink doesn't use 1 test, it uses 2, an income test and an assets test, and only one of them is actually deciding your payment. The other might as well not exist. And if you don't know which one is biting you, you can't do a single thing to lift your pension. Because every move that helps with one test does nothing for the other, and some moves that help one can quietly make the other worse. So today I'm going to show you how the 2 tests really work, the dead simple way to find out which one is cutting your pension, and why that one piece of knowledge is worth more than any top 10 Centrelink tricks video you'll ever watch. Stick around for the assets test especially. There's a trap in it that can leave you worse off for having more money, and most people walk straight into it. Start with the rule that makes sense of everything else, because once you get this, the rest is easy. When you claim or hold the age pension, Centrelink runs your situation through both tests. It works out what your pension would be under the income test and what it would be under the assets test. And then, this is the key, it pays you the lower of the 2. Whichever test produces the smaller pension is the one that applies. That test is said to be binding. The other test, for now, is doing nothing to you. So when someone says, "My pension got cut," the real question is always, cut by which test? Because that single fact decides everything you do next. Push on the wrong test, and you'll spend money and effort, and your pension won't move a cent. Take the assets test first, because it's the one that bites most retirees with a decent nest egg. The assets test looks at the value of nearly everything you own: your super, your savings, your shares, your car, your contents, an investment property, money you've lent out. Nearly everything. The one big exclusion for most people is the family home. If you own your home, it doesn't count, no matter what it's worth. Now there's a threshold, a level of assets you're allowed to have and still get the full pension. It's different for homeowners and non-homeowners, different for singles and couples, and those numbers change, so check the current figure. But here's the part that matters. For every $1,000 of assets you hold above that threshold, your pension is reduced by $3 a fortnight. $3 per thousand per fortnight. Keep climbing in assets and eventually you hit a cutoff where the pension reaches 0. That $3 per thousand taper is steeper than it sounds, and I'll come back to why, because it's the trap. Now the income test. This one looks at your income, and not just the income you'd think of. Yes, it counts wages if you're still working, rent from an investment property, income from a private pension. But the part that catches people is deeming. Centrelink doesn't ask what your savings and investments actually earn. It assumes, it deems that your financial assets earn a set rate of return, whether they really do or not. Your bank account paying you next to nothing? Deemed to earn the deeming rate anyway. So your money in the bank, your shares, your account-based pension, they all get turned into a deemed income figure, and that figure goes into the income test. The income test also has a free area, an amount you can have before it touches your pension. And above that, your pension reduces by 50 cents for every dollar of assessable income. 50 cents in the dollar. So the income test is really 2 things bolted together: your actual income, plus a pretend income on your savings. So how do you tell which test is actually cutting your pension? You don't have to guess, and you don't need a spreadsheet. The simplest way, look at the letter Centrelink sends you, or log into your MyGov, and it will tell you which test your rate is calculated under. That's it, it's written down. But even without looking, you can usually pick it from your shape. If you're asset rich but your actual income is low, a good chunk in super and savings, you own your home, you're not working, it's almost always the assets test cutting you. If you're income heavy, still doing paid work, drawing rent, a large deemed income from big financial balances, it's more likely the income test. The question to put to Centrelink or to a free financial information service officer is exactly this. Is my pension currently assessed under the income test or the assets test, and how far am I from the threshold on each? Once you know that, you know which lever actually moves your pension and which ones are a waste of time. Now that trap I promised in the assets test. Remember the number, $3 a fortnight cut for every $1,000 over the threshold. Run the maths on that and it works out to about $156 a year of lost pension for every extra $1,000 of assets. That's the equivalent of needing your money to earn over 7.5% every year, just to break even on the pension you're giving up by holding it. In a world of 4 or 5% returns, that means there's a band just above the threshold where having more money in assessable assets can actually leave you worse off overall, more in savings, less in total income. People trip into it without ever realizing. And it points straight to the lever. If the assets test is the one binding you, then reducing your assessable assets within the rules is what lifts your pension. Things like a sensible home improvement, prepaying a funeral within the allowed limit, or gifting within the gifting limits. If the income test is binding you instead, none of that helps. You'd be looking at how your income and your deemed assets are structured instead. Same goal, completely different moves, decided entirely by which test is biting. That's why the test is the first thing to know, not the last. So here's the whole thing in a sentence. Centrelink runs both tests, pays you the lower one, and the test that produces the lower number is the only one you should be acting on. The assets test counts almost everything except your home, and tapers $3 a fortnight per $1,000 over the threshold. The income test counts your real income plus a deemed income on your savings, and tapers 50 cents in the dollar. Find out which one is binding you, it's in your Centrelink letter and your MyGov, and you'll finally know whether the moves you keep hearing about will do anything for you at all. 2 honest notes. First, the thresholds, the free areas, the deeming rates, they all change regularly, so confirm the current figures with Services Australia before you act on any of this. Second, this is general information, not personal advice. Which test binds you and what to do about it depends entirely on your own numbers, and a free financial information service appointment through Services Australia is the right place to get those numbers looked at properly. If this cleared something up, do me a favour and tell me in the comments, assets test or income test for you. I'm genuinely curious which one most of you are sitting under, and it tells me where to go next. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.